Hey, it's me, Vicki Marie. Well, I just wanted to make a short video for the members, for my members. Thank you for being a member, by the way. About what does it mean being an empath? Because I've quite often have said in my videos that I'm an empath. Maybe some of you don't know what I'm talking about when I say that. I didn't even know I was an empath until quite recently. But it just, when I realised or started realising what one was, and I realised just explained so much. There's someone who's an empath soaks up really the energy of other people. So, and they give off as well a very positive energy. So what I have come to realise is that sometimes what that means is you attract certain types of people that are, maybe you know the expression energy vampires. You've got energy vampires. You know, we all know someone like that, don't we? Where I know lots of people like that, but you go out with them for a coffee or a drink or whatever. And I'm not talking about boyfriends here. I'm talking about, you know, friends, people in general, anyone. And then by the time you get back home, you're like, oh my God, you know, you're exhausted because that person has sucked a lot of your energy. You don't, I'm not saying even they do it on purpose, they don't even know they're doing it. And you're giving it your energy out without realising you're doing it. You know, an empath is someone you want to please. You know, if somebody says one bad thing about them, they want to make that right. They don't. They're very conscious of what other people think of them and how their actions affect other people, etc. And as far as becoming, now I don't know if you're born an empath. I don't think you are. I think you sort of learn it over time, because I know it started with me when I was young. I was unfortunately in a situation of abuse in the home, so, and having to always try and, gosh, how can I explain it? So when you're trying to, you develop an instinct because you know that there's certain things will trigger off this person's behaviour, and you take it on board. You know, I would be told about the person, don't upset them, and I would think, right, don't upset them, but I wouldn't know what I was doing to upset them, because now I realise that was a mental illness problem that this person had, but I was sort of made to feel, if you like, that the reason I was receiving that abusive behaviour was because as if I'd done something wrong. But I hadn't done anything wrong. I was just happened to be there, and I was on the brunt of it. And I had to learn to think differently. I had to learn to think of anticipating situations to avoid it resulting in a bad situation. So I had to plan things out. I mean, just from little things to big things. If I just give you an example of a little thing. So if I knew this person, I would see them, you know, going past the window just about to, on their way home, they'd go past the front window, go to the back to be on a bicycle, and first thing I would do is turn the television over from whatever it was I was watching, because I knew that the first thing that person would do when they came in was turn it back. You know, these are in the days when we didn't have many channels. God, you wouldn't know which channel now to turn it over to. But then I think we only had 2 or 3 channels. And so they would come in, turn it over. They would watch anything rather than let me watch what I wanted to watch. So as soon as I saw them coming, I would turn it over. They would come in, turn it over back to the programme that I was actually watching. And I would say, oh no, I was watching that. And you know, so, you know, again, so that anticipation, trying to think ahead. You've always got to think ahead, plan things ahead. I think it came from that. And I was told this when I went to see a psychologist about a counsellor. I went for counselling, And I was told this, he's like, when you're always sat trying to anticipate someone's next movement, you develop hone an instinct for picking up on the signs of so you can feel something that's going to happen rather than what's actually happening. And that makes so much sense to me now. So, and then I found, as I got older, I was doing that all the time, really. I've not always been able to anticipate, but when myself and my ex-partner split up, that's why I never would be on my own in his company after that, because I knew I was in danger. Nobody would listen to me, but I just knew it inside. Not that he'd done anything really or said anything apart from, threatening to self-delete himself. But he'd never threatened to do anything to me. But I just knew inside. So I think this is what it is being an empath. You pick up on these extra, it's not just on what people are saying, there's some sort of intuition. So it's hard to be, if you're around people who are taking your energy away, you can't help but give it out. So you can come home from a night out literally like a drained battery with nothing left. Also, it's quite difficult sometimes in company of a lot of people because you've got so many different energies coming through. It's like mind-blowing. So sometimes I don't like being in a group of a lot of people because I can't cope with all the different energies that are coming at me. I'm working with that now. I'm trying to deal with that. You can put like a mental shield around yourself. I found that quite difficult with YouTube because, one thing I've realised is I started doing more on this crime channel. It's different from my Spanish channels because, you do get trolling and people say nasty things sometimes, and I found that really difficult in the beginning, but I'm working my way through that. My son, who he's a lot younger obviously and he's more YouTube savvy, says you just got to ignore it, you just not got to take it seriously, and that's what I'm trying to do. And some days it's easier than others, but don't get me wrong, I don't get lots of trolling, but that was part of the reason why I set up the members channel, so that I would know that I could speak freely, and the people who have joined, hopefully they're not going to be if they've gone to the trouble of joining, then they're more on my wavelength. That's my idea, and that was the idea, a safe space, not only for me but for you too, because the other members will be on your wavelength. Does that make sense? And that was the reason behind it all. The other thing I want to say about being an empath, it's sort of, it's good and bad. I'd rather be an empath. I like being an empath. I like to feel empathy for people. I think the world needs more people to be like that. But what makes it difficult is how you can be so affected by things. I can literally just see, especially now in these days of social media, when you're going through your Twitter or your Facebook or whatever, and suddenly an image flashes up of an animal that's being cruelty towards an animal, or you read a story of cruelty towards a child, or all different things like this. Why I do the true crime, because I want the victims, I feel like the victims get forgotten, and it affects me for days. I can literally see one picture, well, it's happened loads of times, but I've actually had to click off because I like to support dog charities or any animal charities, and I follow them and I donate, etc. But I've actually had to come off some of them because I couldn't cope. It's nice, the happy stories, but I'm filling up. This is what an empath does, even just thinking about it. So very briefly, with it, just a couple of seconds of a story that wasn't so happy on one of these animal charity accounts, and it affected me for weeks. I couldn't get the image out of my head, and I was heartbroken. There was nothing I could do about it, and it leaves you with that feeling. That's how it feels to be an empath, to feel things too much. So and I don't want to be a person who doesn't feel anything. you know, but I would like sometimes to be able to maybe step back a bit. I also think being an empath has been honed by being a teacher, because I've been a teacher for 25 years. So when you're teaching as well, and I think that's what makes me a good teacher. You know, I'm not blowing my own trumpet. I am a good teacher, but I think part of that reason is that because you're anticipating how people feel, and you know, everybody. One thing I've learned while I've been teaching is everyone is so different. You know, so different in their way of learning. Some people can see things straight away, and other people it really takes a long time. Everybody gets to it in the end, but it's learning to deal with all those different ways of thinking. We all think so differently. We are all so, we're the same because we're human, but some people don't notice anything like that's going on around them. Like I will walk into a room and straight away I'm noticing everything about that room. All this information's crowding in on me about the people in there, etc. Other people walk in and they just don't see anything because they're not, you know, that's just the way they are. And I envy them really, because it can be distressing being an empath. Having said that, I think the positive things about an empath, being an empath, is what you can bring to other people as well. You really can hopefully help them when they're going through difficult situations. You know, sometimes an empath's not the person you want around you when you are going through a difficult situation. And it's like times where you need someone who's cool in an emergency. That's probably not an empath. You know, if I was being operated on, for example, by a surgeon, I wouldn't want them to be an empath. I want them to be clinical and to just do their job, and you know that they have to be. Do you see what I mean? Whereas I think, like when I was young, I always wanted to be. When I was a child, I always wanted to be a vet because I love animals. But as I got older, I realised that being a vet, there are times you're going to see things that are tragic, and you're going to have to do things like, you know, putting animals to sleep, etc. I couldn't do that. I couldn't be a nurse because I'd get too emotionally involved. You know, I'd be going home worrying about all the patients and that. And to be a successful nurse or a successful vet, you can't do that. You can't worry about them all. You have to be able to step back from things sometimes and look at things clinically. Not go with your gut. So there are times when going with your instinct is good, and there are times when going with your instinct is not good. So I've never been a person who's interested in science and things like that, because I'm not so clinical as that. You know, I wish I was more clinical about things, but I can't. I think at my age now, I don't think I'm going to change. So what about you? Are you an empath? Or, you know, I think there must be different grades of being an empath. And of course, then you've got the narcissist, who's the total opposite of an empath. But quite often a narcissist and an empath will end up in a relationship because they complement each other. You know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You couldn't have two empaths in a relationship, because it'd be like, oh, well, what do you want to do tomorrow? Well, what do you want to do? Well, I'll do what you want to do. I just want to make you happy. Well, I'll do. And you'd end up not going anywhere. So you need to, whereas if you had two narcissists in a relationship, it'd be like, well, I want to go there, and oh, well, I don't want to go there, I want to go there. So that wouldn't work either. So maybe narcissists and empaths are made to be in relationships. When I talk about narcissists, there are different grades of it. I think we've all got a little bit of narcissism in us, but you know, there's people, you could call it an empath or a people pleaser. You know, some people want to please people. That to me would be more important. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd give my opinion of where I wanted to go, but I wouldn't, if I didn't want to go somewhere, I just wouldn't go, if you like. So I couldn't go and sit in a situation where I didn't feel comfortable, sit it out for a couple of hours. I can't do that because I wouldn't be able to switch off from it. So I get a bit anxious about social situations because I don't know how I'm going to feel, and I won't know until I get there, until the energies come through, and then it might be too late. How do I get out of it? Then I'll be worrying about how am I going to say I've got to go out, you know. So I'm planning all that before I've even gone. I'm going to a coronation party at the weekend, you know, because if you're, well, I think all over the world maybe you'll know, but obviously King Charles is being crowned, or what do we call it, coronated, or whatever it is. But I'm not a royalist. You know, that's, if you are, that's fine, that's your opinion, but I'm not. So now I'm worrying about it, and I'm thinking, oh, what if they expect me to do this, or what if will they get angry with me because I don't feel that way about the royal family, you know. So it's all already going through my head, but I'm going. I've decided I'm definitely going, because I'm trying to fight these things at the moment. I'm going to go, and I'm going to cope with it. What are you doing for the coronation? Are you doing anything? Let me know. Okay, so I just thought I'd hop on. Remember to always live and love very carefully. I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye.